He did the rest.
All right, let's get stuck in. We've had the ladder up a lot this week,
Yep.
but the team at the top hasn't really featured in the conversation. They're just doing their thing. They've picked off 12 in a row to equal the club record, which dates back to the mid-30s.
12 in a row.
And what they did in the third quarter was positively frightening.
Had a look at their draw the next 6 weeks. I reckon they could be going in the final series with 18 in a row. If they beat Hawthorn at the MCG next week, which they'll go in favourites to, they play Essendon at home and they play Port Adelaide in Adelaide. If they win those 3, the rest are against sides outside of the 8. They could quite easily be going in 8. Now, I don't know if that's a great thing, going in 18 wins in a row, but geez, they're going to be hard to stop, aren't they?
Yeah, this is the half hour, which is the case for the affirmative.
There's nothing wrong with going in 18 wins in a row, because I tell you now, they're so confident about what they're doing, and they've got players to come back in, and the other sides will be frightened like hell. Can we beat these sides? No, we can't.
No one's got that depth of talent in the forward half. The ball goes in there and it doesn't come out. You pay a price if you make an error. You give them half a chance and they capitalise. They're the number 1 team in the competition at scoring from turnovers, and I don't care what colours you wear. If you are the number 1 team at scoring from turnovers across the course of the season, you generally win the opportunity to play in the grand final, and then you generally win the flag. And that's what Geelong have shown us the last 6 or 7 years.
Kingy, I've never seen anyone feel good about themselves after they lose. They just continue to feel good about themselves when they win and destroy sides. So winning form's good form, and if you keep winning, there's no way knowing that you should be beaten with this sort of talent in a side and this sort of work rate.
They're ferocious, aren't they?
They're fantastic.
They've got everything. I think I don't know if I asked you or not, guys. Is there any weakness? If you're coaching against them, what would you try to exploit?
I don't know if there's a weakness. A weakness is an interesting way of looking at it. I'm not sure there's a weakness, but for things to go wrong, they'd have to have, in my opinion, they'd have to have a key injury. It'd have to be to a key back, Teddy Richards or someone like that, or if Hanbury doesn't come back. I think Hanbury's their barometer. He's their midfield jet for me. He's the one that adds that class on the end of what Kennedy does, what Jack does. He's the X factor in the midfield. But the only other thing that can go wrong is if they get confused with their roles. That the midfielders who are grunt midfielders, who are possession winners, who start the possession chains, want to become the flair of the forwards, lose their way. That's the only thing that can go wrong for me.
So it's internally, it's their own brains.
Well, it's theirs to lose. That's what we believe.
Now, a couple of weeks ago, you spent time focusing on who you couldn't afford to lose in the run towards the final. This week, you've skewed that a little bit to what's coming back, if we narrowed it down to the 5 contenders as they stand. And the most frightening part is the team with as much to gain as any, if not more, is Sydney. Yeah,
I think that when you look at the... Gerard Whately talks a lot about the domino theory of when players come back, what that does to your team. Let's have a look at some of the teams at the pointy end, the top 5 teams. And I think the Sydney Swans, we're all talking about, they've got Tippett to come back, Hanbury and Reece Shaw. Now, Tippett comes back in, but he's been doing it by himself for the last 4 or 5 weeks. They've rested Tippett perfectly. Structural players that come back in make a huge difference. Hanbury comes back in and he'll take a tag straight away. So that frees up someone else on the outside to then get loose, to then get more ball. So it's the flow-on effect for me. They're 3 big ends. Reece Shaw's played everywhere this year. He's played midfield with good success and half-back. So they're 3 big ends on what's already a pretty powerful side.
It allows them to use Jared McVeigh in a different role when Reece Shaw's in good nick.
Okay.
Talk about their only sort of problem. I reckon their ruck's maybe one of their biggest problems come finals time, but they're so good on the ground, won't matter.
Fremantle, whose stocks are improving, and